write the word can, I'd go letter by letter starting with the very first letter. Watch me. I'm going to do a check of that word. Can. You try it. Now do a check. Let's move that one letter at a time. Can. You try it. Do you see that word can? Let's write that word can. What letter do you see first? Point to the first letter in can. What letter do you see first? A C. Then what letter do you see? And then what letter do you see last? How many letters are we going to write for that word can? How many? 3 letters. And what's that first letter you're going to write for can? Tell me what letter?
S.
Oh, let's look at that letter. What's that letter? It's like cat. That's the letter C. Yeah. Go ahead. Let's write that word can. Do a slow check. Let's check it. Were you right? Do you know that word can? Yes, you do. The other day you read this book. I can read. Remember, the girl can read to everyone in her family. I can read to Mom. I can read to Dad. I can read to Grandma. I can read to my sister. I can read to my teacher. I can read to my friend. I can read to myself. Now we made that word can. We know how to make it with letters. We know how to write it. And we know how to read that word can too. Can you find that word can and frame it with your fingers? Were you right? Does it look like that word can? You do a slow check and see if you were right. No? You're going to help yourself read this page.
I can read to Mom.
Were you right? You made that sound and look right.
I can read to Dad.
Very nice.
I can read to Grandma. I can read to my sister.
Were you right? Was she reading to her sister?
I can read to my teacher. I can read to my friend. I can read to myself.
You were close. I can read myself. Clap myself. Myself. You clap it.
Myself.
Did you hear how it's a long word? So we're going to stay there longer. I can read to myself. You do it.
I can read to myself.
We're going to do it like this. Myself. You read it one more time.
I can read to myself.
Good. And what's that word?
Can.
Oh my goodness. We know the word can. When we write that word can, what letter do we write first? That's the letter C, like cat. Write that word can quick. That's a good word to know how to write and read. Check it.
Can.
How'd you do?
Can.
Nice going. This video is about making words letter by letter. I chose design question 2, what will I do to help students effectively interact with new knowledge? Subsection 6, identifying critical information. The critical information being making a word in the correct sequence. Making words letter by letter helps them to establish a routine of how to look at words and text from left to right so that they can do this in their reading. When you see that kids are not looking correctly, maybe they're looking from right to left instead of left to right, this is an activity you can do to help train their eyes what way to look, so that they're doing this when they're reading new words and when they're reading text. Kind of helps to clear up that confusion. I wanted to extend it into reading and writing so that they knew that this wasn't just a word that they needed to read in isolation, but it was also an expected word to read in text, and so that they could get their eyes looking from left to right in text. Connecting it to writing gets that reciprocity of reading and writing. If you know it in reading, you can know it in writing, and vice versa. If they get stuck on the word when they're reading a story, you can always have them write it quickly with their finger on the table or on a whiteboard, and a lot of times they can recall that information because they do know it in writing.